better place to film a porno than a farm owned by two old people? Well, I know I can't. What's up, YouTube? Zero here. And today I have a horror movie review of X. This is a movie that centers around young adults trying to make it in Hollywood by creating a porno. In this video, I'll go over the overview of X. Then I'll get into some of the prominent actors and the director. I'll talk about the acting and where you may have seen them from in some of their prominent films. Then I'll get into more of the pros and cons. Then I'll talk about some ratings from prominent websites. And at the end of the video, I'll go into my final rating. So stick around for that. Make sure you stick around to see if I think you should watch this or completely skip it. Before I get into it, though, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, the red button down there. For more horror movie reviews, I have a bunch of other content, mystery box unboxing videos, so feel free to check that out as well. It does really help out me and my channel. Thank you so much in advance for doing so. Without further ado, let me get into the synopsis of X, which is the sequel to Pearl, although it did come out prior to Pearl. Pearl was made after X, but this is in the Pearl trilogy. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. But when their reclusive, elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. So, what better place to make a porno than in rural Texas on a farm? But let's get into the actors of X. So the two main actors that I do want to talk about, actually, there are a lot of actors, and it's hard to just pinpoint one who is the main center of this film, but I do want to highlight a couple. One, just to note, Kid Cudi is in this film. If you know him from his music career, I do love his music, and he does a very good job in this movie. But the main actor who this movie is, I guess you could say, centered around, Mia Goth, who plays Maxine, she actually does star in Pearl as well as Pearl herself. She's also in Suspiria. So a couple of movies you may have seen her from, and let me tell you, she does a phenomenal job in this movie. Mia Goth, I am starting to become a huge fan of her. I love her job in Pearl, and this movie, she does a phenomenal job as well. The next actor that I want to talk about is Jenna Ortega. She is becoming a staple in the horror movie industry. You may have seen her from earlier in 2022 where she starred in Scream 5. She's also in Wednesday as Wednesday herself. So Jenna Ortega is becoming a staple in the horror movie industry, and I love her work and what she does. She does a phenomenal job in this movie as well. The supporting cast also does a very good job of portraying their roles. Young adult filmmakers trying to make it in Hollywood. As you go through, you can really connect to the actors, what they're feeling. Some of the actors who are shy, Jenna Ortega's character, who plays Lorraine, she's a shy young adult. You can connect to her and how she feels. Not just about the adult film industry, but about her relation to her boyfriend. Maxine, you can connect to her as well, trying to just make it in Hollywood. Every actor and the acting in general is phenomenal, so that's going to go on the pro side. Now let's get to the director, Ty West, who has done a very good job in this Pearl franchise so far. They are coming out with a third movie called Maxine. But right now, Pearl, if you've seen it, the prequel to X, he directed that, of course. He also directed The Innkeepers and House of the Devil. So he is known in the horror industry. He's not shied away from doing horror movies, and he does a very good job in this movie, I would say, for the most part. The visuals are stunning. A lot of the direction is very good. The scare scenes or the slasher parts of the film were very good. I would say one con, though, is there were a lot of sex scenes. Now, I understand that this is a movie that centers around young adults trying to make an adult film, but that doesn't mean that you need to go over the top with the sex scenes in general unless they add to the plot of the story. And there may have been one or two added sex scenes that I could have done without. So I'm going to put that in the con, but of course, everyone has their opinion on that. It's just mine that it didn't add to the plot. A couple of them. There were some that definitely added to the plot and really helped you understand the characters and what these young adults were trying to accomplish. But there were some that may not have been needed, and they could have portrayed the characters in a different light instead of the sex scenes. So now that I've talked about the actors and the director, let me talk about more of the pros. It is an amazing story. You do get to connect to the characters, and as you're going through the story, you really understand where the young adults who did rent out that cabin in the farm are coming from. As you progress, you wonder what's going to happen next, what both Howard and Pearl are thinking, who are the old couple who owns the farm, and what are the young adults thinking, what's going through their head, and you see the progression of this slasher film in very good light. The acting I already mentioned, but it is phenomenal. I love the acting and the story. It also is a start of a very good trilogy. I did mention that Pearl is really the prequel to this, so Pearl is technically the start of the trilogy, but this movie came out first, so you could say that this is the start to the trilogy. I don't know how you want to put it, but this movie came out before Pearl, so I'm going to say this was the start to the trilogy, and it did a really good job of jumping into the slasher franchise and kind of taking a new light on it. Young adults, and then an old couple who just get a little too over the top, if you will. And the visuals are absolutely stunning. As you're going through the movie, you'll see the different lighting and the effects. It's absolutely amazing. So now let's go to another con. I already talked about too many sex scenes for me that don't really add to the plot. But one last one is that I would have liked to know more about the antagonists of the movie, Pearl and Howard themselves. In X, I don't get enough of the villains or what their motives are. Why are they attacking these kids? I don't know. And I could have used a little bit more background on them. Now I understand that Pearl ending up being the prequel, I got that background that I was looking for, but it wasn't as apparent in this movie itself. However, this was a phenomenal movie, and I really enjoyed it. So let's talk about the ratings from prominent sites, and then get into my final rating. From Rotten Tomatoes, where I did read the synopsis, we have a 94% from critics and a 75% from the audience. So this is certified fresh from Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb, we're at a 6.6. And just a reminder, these ratings are, as I'm doing this video right now, they are always subject to change as more reviews come in. And Metacritic has a 79 out of 100 from critics and a 6.7 from the audience out of 10. So those are pretty good ratings. I do want to mention that those are just slightly lower, at least user-wise, than Pearl. However, critics did enjoy this movie better. So users enjoyed Pearl better, critics enjoyed X. Slightly better, though. The ratings are really neck and neck. So me, X is a phenomenal movie. I enjoy slashers in general, and this is a nice take on the slasher genre. You have a group of young adults going to try and succeed in Hollywood, and they do it by filming a porno on a farm where their hosts decide to inject themselves, not in the porno itself, but with a little slashing. It has a great story, great visuals, and the acting is absolutely phenomenal. However, there are some moments of added sex scenes that weren't necessary for the plot, and just not enough background on the main villains themselves, which do detract a little from the movie. However, this slasher film is a great start to the Pearl franchise, and I absolutely loved it and recommend any horror movie fan and slasher fan take a look at this movie and you won't be disappointed. I'm going to give X a 7 out of 10. This is a great movie, a great start to a franchise, and if you've watched Pearl prior to this, you're going to enjoy X. If you haven't seen Pearl yet, then go ahead and see that, as well as X, because both movies are great. Let me know in the comments section what you think of X if you've seen it, or what you think of Pearl if you've seen that. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until next time, stay spooky. Peace.